wonderful people. Okay, I've been working on my Betta Barracks system that needed a serious makeover. I don't know whether you can remember it when I showed it previously to you very briefly. The actual barrack system itself was white. And as you can see, all my tanks all my tank racks are black. So I wanted it to match. So I needed to respray it. And also all of the glass cubes were absolutely filthy. They were disgusting. I've never cleaned glass so grimed up in my life. It took some serious doing, but we got there. First of all, I didn't record this bit, if I'm being honest, because I wasn't sure how I was going to cope with it. It was my first time spray painting anything. Obviously, I paint lots of things. I've painted lots of things in this fish room and other bits and bats, but it's always with a brush. I've always painted with pot of paint, paintbrush, slap it on, job done. That's my tanks, always painted in black gloss and everything. I've never spray painted in my life. And I was a little bit nervous. He's like, yeah, I know this can all go very wrong very quickly. But I didn't want to do it with a brush because I was worried about whether or not you'd see a lot of the brush strokes on the material of the rack itself. It's coated in like plastic. So not knowing how my brush strokes were going to cope with that, I opted for spray painting. I thought it would be a smoother finish. Haha. So the rack was white to start with. I sanded down the rack just gently, just to knock off anything that, you know, shouldn't be there, rough up the surface a little bit. I'm not going to lie, I seeked advice for this because I've never spray painted before. In my life, it was scary. So I was advised to sand it down to roughen it up and then prep the surface and go for it. So that's what I did. Sanded it all down, went for coat number 1. It took 3 coats in total. It probably only should have took 2, but I did my top coat first, like roughly, and then did my second coat, and then it had a reaction. I'd not prepped the surface correctly. I hadn't washed it down with. I washed it with water, like soapy water and whatever else, but I hadn't washed it down with anything to take off any sticky residue or anything like that. So I didn't have anything like white spirits laying about. I'm sure I had somewhere, but I couldn't find it, or any other strong material. So I'm not going to lie, I did it with nail polish remover. Yeah, we did that. So I then wiped over the areas that was or sanded down the areas that I'd mucked up on and that had the reaction, and then wiped them down with my nail polish remover, and then went again. So in total, it took 3 coats to get it nice and smooth. But I'm happy with it. I'm sure, you know, it probably could have come out better. But I'm happy with it, so that's all that matters. It's me that's got to look at it all the time. To me, it looks fine. I'm semi-proud of myself that I managed to, you know, my first attempt spray painting, I don't think that came out too bad. So yeah, so we're gonna, obviously, you know, pictures, but let's start off where I did, which was the first bit I started recording, which was cleaning the tanks, because they were grot. So, hope you enjoy this, and yeah, let's see how I can get my Betta Barracks system looking all swish and posh and looking somewhat like new. So, hope you enjoy! Okay, so what we are doing now is cleaning these out. Now, can you see maybe if I did it like this, then you'll be able to understand. Look how grimy that tank is. And they're all like that. Every single cube is like that. So what I've done is I've soaked them all in my bath overnight in hot water with some glass cleaner. I've then obviously drained the bath again first thing this morning, reheated it up with added more hot water to the bath with more glass cleaner in. So obviously now we've got to get all this hard water, lime scale off of these cubes. And the easiest way I found is with this. Now I understand that most of you are probably thinking, oh no, here she goes, it's a sharp object. Vicky's got hold of a sharp object again. It's okay, it's fine, it's not a problem. We can do this. I found that the easiest way, I mean this is admittedly, I will say that these are probably the worst I've ever had to deal with glass wise with this, but make sure that it's wet before you start scraping. So what you're going to do now is get a razor blade, and we're just going to very patiently scrape off all of the hard watermarks and lime scale and rubbish on the glass. Now this is obviously the back of the tank, because there's the drain tube, of which I will show you how that all works when we get to put in all of that together and revamping all of that. But basically, on a short, brief description, they will overflow through the hole on a recirculative system and then drain down into the bottom sump, and then will be pumped back up through the drip tubes, drip back in. And then the process continues. And now, that's the outside of the back panel done. We're just going to do the inside. Now obviously, around the rest of the 3 panels, the outsides aren't too bad. Obviously, whoever had this system running before just had, well, some of these tanks didn't have pipes at all. Others had little pieces of pipe sticking out, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to replace all of them with little pieces of pipe sticking out. But the pieces of pipe that were in these were just slotted through the hole. I'm going to silicone mine in from the outside. That way then, one, it will give a better water seal. I mean, obviously the idea is it flows out, but I don't really want it flowing down the glass because that's wet. So, I need to fit little cute little pipes to it and then silicone them in. I'm also going to paint the back and the bottom glass black like I normally do with all my other tanks. There's no need to be seen through the back of the tank because obviously that's where all the pipe work and that's going to be. I also find that it makes the fish stand out that little bit better, and so far, if I'm being honest, I haven't found any better background colour really than black. I think it just makes everything pop, whether it's just a fish in display, you know, so you can see the fish. I do believe that it picks up on the fish a lot better. Obviously, if it is a black fish, you might want to pick a blue background or a grey background. But for majority of fish, I find that black is best for that kind of thing. Can't really beat a nice black background. I think it just makes everything pop, especially if you've got a planted aquarium. That's going to be a future project that I'm going to be taking you through. I have 2 2 planting projects I'd like to get done. And one of those will have a black background to it, or it's already got a black background to it. But I'm looking forward to doing those 2. But I will be honest with you, I am actually a fairly novice when it comes to planting aquariums. Most of mine are obviously for breeding, so I use a lot of fake plants because they're easier to get up and move out the way so when I'm catching fish. But hoping to get a little bit more into planted aquariums as well, and maybe incorporating some easy removable plants into my other tanks. I think that will just make, I think any plant improves an aquarium, if I'm being honest. Okay, so there we go. That's that tank done. That tank is now clean. So basically what I've got to do now is just dry it off and then go and stick it on my unit to fully dry, and then paint the backs and the bottoms. So what I'm going to do now is just repeat this process several times over. Wish me luck. Okay, so now that they're all as clean as I can get them and they're dry, I'm now going to paint the backs and the bottoms of each one. So, like I was saying earlier, I'm going to paint the back, which is the one with the heel. Put a heel in. I'm going to paint the backs black and the bottoms black. I probably will be putting some gravel or something in here. I don't like bare bottom tanks. But there are ways of getting a bare bottom tank to look better than just glass. One of those is to paint the bottoms black. That's your most basic. I will be going into some other ways with you. And possibly I have had a few questions about substrate and what substrates I use and what substrate I prefer. And yeah, so I'm going to be going over that in another video. We'll do a whole thing. We'll do a whole thing on substrate. How about that? How exciting is that? But for now, we're painting. So, no, I just dropped the lid. I just dropped the lid upside down. It's fine. It's alright. It's the fish room. It's fine. Right. So, this is gloss because we do everything in gloss in this house. We don't. Right, so yeah, we're just gonna smother it on. it's nothing technical, really. It always takes minimum of 2 coats on this, because obviously, you know, it's glass. It's a smooth surface. So it always does take at least 2 coats. What I am having to be careful of is obviously the holes that are in said tank, because I don't want to get them jammed up with gloss paint when I've got to try and get a tube through it. So we need to be careful going around those. But other than that, we're just slapping it on. Just trying to make it as easy as possible. But obviously, as I will show you, you can see that it's all, look, see? It's all streaky, you can see through it. But the more I do, the more I do on that, the worse it's going to get. So, I have learned through previous experience, and obviously painted lots of times. It might not be the best way. This is the way I did. You just have to go over it again. Just have to do several coats. Sometimes, you know, like I said, most of the time, in all fairness, 2 coats, and it's been fine with me. There has been the odd tank where I've had to do like a 3rd. Whether or not that's got something to do with the glass itself, I'm not sure, because you know, I always use the same paint, even down to the same brand of paint, because you know it's what I can get fairly cheap. So that's, you know, that's just what it is. Yeah, so basically I'm going to go over this like however many more times, let it dry, and then do the 2nd coat, and then turn them all upside down and do all their bottoms, and then give the bottoms a 2nd coat. So I'm going to continue painting all of these tanks, and I will catch you when on the next stage. So, hey. Okay, it's first thing the next morning. So, all sides have been painted, backs and bottoms are all ready to go. So, like that. Now that is what they're going to look like. The light's not brilliant in here because I haven't switched anything on yet. So, bear with. So today, we're going to be concentrating on the sump. Excuse the toot. What's in front? That's it. Lights have not gone on. So, let's turn the lights on this. Because look, the lights work in this now. Ta-da! Okay, so, what we're going to do today is I'm going to be working on the sump. So I have, as you can see, look, I have sponge and finer sponge, and we have media. I've inserted the heater. The pump works. That's been serviced. Heater I know works. I tested it. So that's all good. For anyone that's interested, that is a 100-watt heater I've popped in there. When it came with a 25-watt. I don't see how that's going to be efficient. Mainly because, obviously, I like to put a slightly bigger heater into my tanks, because that way then it's working less. Now, obviously what will happen is the water... Right, so the water comes up through the pump, goes up, say to the top one, which is there, comes out of the drippers that are there, drips into the little cubes, overflows out the hole at the back, drops down onto the tray, runs down the hole that's down there, and down there, and then returns into the bottom of the sump. So obviously all this is a return bay, if you like, and then it will flow around here, underneath this one, into this section, over the top of this section, into here. We'll go past the heater to reheat, and obviously back up again. So I like to put, I wanted to put 100 watt in here because obviously the water's got to travel some distance to keep warm, sorry, so without cooling down too much. So there's the idea. Yes, so we're going to pop sponges. I'm going to cut sponges to go into the back section, into this part, and then probably have some more sponges around here somewhere, and then all this section here is going to be this media that's going to go in, because I don't want to restrict flow going past the heater, but obviously I'd like some media flowing through at the same time. So that is what we're going to do today. I'm going to be cutting this, all of the foam, adding this in, turning on, filling it up, turning on the heater, yeah, and then hopefully by the end of today it should be running, because that's all really I've got to do is sort the sump out, get the grids back in, and get the little tanks back in. So hopefully we will get that done. So I'm going to take Little to school, and then I'm going to be getting on with that. Hello. Okay, so we need to be cutting this. Now I've cut it. Okay, so I've cut to fit the gap at the back. So now I'm going to cut this again in half to make it smaller again, and then we're going to cut this to fit on top, so it'll be like a sponge sandwich. Yeah. So I have my big knife. I'm going to go for it. So just literally just going to cut it in half. It's really easy to cut through. Unfortunately, I can't find my big scissors, which clearly would have been the safer option. But if you have watched my videos before, we will just make do amends. It's fine. Just don't. Fine. It's all good. Just please don't, do this at home. You can, if you want. Just, It's probably not recommended to use a very big bread knife to do this, but I can't find my big scissors. They have been borrowed and not returned to me, which is, pretty normal. You do end up making lots of mess though when you do this. You end up with little glue bits everywhere. Okay, right, so we've done that. See, look, wow. So we're gonna fit that in there, and that bit in there. So yeah. Yeah, so let me show you. Okay, so there we go. See, look, bits of sponge are in. So I'm gonna cut another bit over here on this section to do the same thing, and then around here as well. So, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll leave that little square there because I have a cunning plan actually. That's where that could go. Okay, so I'm going to cut another bit to go there, and then we'll do the black sponge and continue. Okay, so there we go. So there's our sponges. So we've got the blue one. Ooh, hang on, sorry. Right, we've got the blue one underneath. So the coarser one underneath, the finer one on top. And that goes all the way around there to that department. And then in this one, I'm going to be putting some of my pre-filtered sponge filters. Now, obviously, the sponge filters won't actually be running, but the sponges off of them will be put into there to help increase and get a start on the bacteria and the cycle. In here we have the balls have been set around the heater. What I am going to do is I'm going to install an air line coming down from here with an air stone to pop next to the heater just to help circulate just that little bit more and to provide a little bit more oxygen in there. What I'd really like to do is to pop an airline into each one of the cubes. After counting up, I have 24 cubes and I do not have enough air taps. So I'm going to order that right now and hopefully that will be here in a few days. And then because I'd like to stick an air tap into each one as well, just to help circulate just that little bit more. Similar to like I do in my breeding, the ones where my breeders go. They all have, if you can see, I've set up like a sponge filter at the back for each one. You can see underneath the weed. So yeah, so I'd like the same system in there without the sponge, just literally just an airline drop in, just a gentle constant airflow into each one just to help as well. But I don't have enough taps, so they are on order, so I'm not going to be able to do that today. What I can do though is I can rig up the system and drop the airline in, so at least then all I've got to do is just slip in and add in the taps with the drops on. So I can do that now, and then the grids are washed, they're just draining off, so because there's wide grids to go on each shelf. And then yeah, and then basically it's just add them in, give them a final buff up if you like on the glass, and add them in and add water. So let's get that lot done. So there we go, it's working. Woohoo! Yeah, it all sort of went together really quickly after the filter or the sump was sorted. So yep, so you saw obviously what I had in the sump. I added water to the sump and then I just basically inserted the little overflow pipes into the back of the tank. Like, let's take you in, like so. You see a little pipe at the back, so I just inserted the little pipes at the back, filled up, put them in place, filled up each individual cube, and then turned and set the drip system. So turn the pump on, set the drip system. So heater is on. Don't know whether you'll be able to see in there. That's the sump. Can you see the light? There it is. Look, there's a little light from the heater. Just there, look. There's an air stone. I fitted an air stone into the sump just underneath the heater just to help push the water around a little bit more. I've also, if you look there, I've inserted an airline system, which I don't have the air stones, or sorry, I don't have the air taps for, but I have ordered them and they will be here in a few days. So hopefully they will turn up and then we will continue this. I also need to make some dividers to go down, so obviously the betas don't see each other, which I will be doing as well. So on to the next step then, and let's wait for delivery. Okay, so there you go, completed the run-ins, and the main system is up and running. Obviously there's a few more bits I'd like to personally do or tweak at. Obviously, as you can see, I'm still waiting on the air taps to come through. but it's not a major ordeal. It's not something that it's built with. It's something that I chose to put in there and I've inserted in there. The idea is that if I can get an airdrop, or possibly maybe if I could get an airdrop into each one, it would then get anything that's laying on the bottom of the cube to circulate up and hopefully go out the hole, just to help me maintain a little bit more. Because obviously what would happen is after like every other day, maybe every third day, I'd go along with a turkey baster and just suck up any of the grot that might be sitting at the base, just to help it out a little bit, just so everything, you know, just so it's not sitting there stagnant and horrible. It's not actually for the bettas really, because obviously bettas are air breathing, so they can go up to the surface of the water, get a nice bit of air from there, and they're quite happy with that. It's not a problem. And obviously we do have surface movement on the water as well, which obviously is helping to oxygenate slightly. But yeah, everything's running great. All the taps are working. I still have to tweak every so often the odd tap where, you know, flow doesn't quite, you know, one will slow down quite a bit. So it's just a little tweak every so often when I notice it, but it's not anything major. It's holding temp, which is wonderful, because I was concerned that obviously the heater being down in the sump, and by the time obviously it works its way all the way up to, like, say, like the last top one, which is all the way over here, I sort of thought, oh, it might be losing temp, and I'm not happy about it. And it's not actually. In all fairness, it is holding. There is a slight drop in temperature from the sump to the top one, but it's only like a degree. That's fine. This room's pretty warm anyway, because obviously all the other tanks in there, so the air temp itself is quite warm in here. Sometimes I wonder how I managed to sit here with a jumper on. But so I'm really happy with that, and yeah, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Actually, I'm semi impressed with myself. Look at me go with my first time spraying skills and stuff. So yeah, I'm quite impressed. As you can see, I've put two of my younger ones in here. These are both from my blue rim spawn, which are, well, this one here has coloured up nicely. He's got his nice blue rims coming through, which is excellent. And this one's just starting to opaque out. So yeah, so hopefully the blue on the rim will follow, because the majority of them, when they first started getting colour, were blue all over. So, and then obviously they lose colour, and then the blue starts to come back again in their places. So yes, I'm quite happy with that. I had to move them because they were starting to squabble. Hence why the rack had to get done, because I had baby Bettas growing out that were starting to bicker amongst themselves. So I had to remove them, and these were the first two that started to squabble as soon as it was set up. So it's like, right, out you come. We have a system now for you to continue growing out in. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. There are a few little bits I'm going to add to it again. I'd like to get possibly a moss ball for each little cube, just to make it look a little bit nicer and to give them something to interact with. And possibly maybe a little bit of floating weed in each one, maybe a little bit of guppy grass or something like that. So yeah, but I'm really quite chuffed with this. I'm really quite chuffed with it. I'm also going to get some little labels to go on the shelves for each cube as well. So then when I do put grow outs on here, I can put their spawn number on and things like that, because there's lots of documentation to go with this. Believe it or not, Vicky can do a little bit of paperwork. Even I shock myself with that one. So yeah, so there you go. So I hope you enjoyed watching this Betta rack change from a mess. We're going to say a mess into something that I think looks quite good. So for this one, I'm going to love you and leave you, and we'll see what happens on the next one. There's a few possibles, weather depending on one. I might be able to actually get that project finished, but that's going to depend on whether or not it continues to rain upon me, because that's all it seems to have done the last few weeks, months. It's rain on me. So we'll see whether or not I actually manage to get round to that one, or whether or not there's another little project with a little person that would like to have that recorded and that shared with you as well. So we'll see what one comes up first. Obviously weather dependent, and obviously, you know, see how excited someone else is to appear on one of my videos. So for now, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I hope that you all have a wonderful week. And for those mums out there, happy Mother's Day, because today is the day where, you know, I hope that you've all had breakfast in bed, and you're getting spoiled rotten for the day, because you deserve it. So happy Mother's Day to all you mums out there, and for the rest of you, I will see you on the next one. Bye.